The webinar will begin in approximately 5 minutes. The webinar will begin in approximately 2 minutes. The webinar will begin in approximately 1 minute. of Rotron regenerative blowers. This is the 9th in our series of monthly webinars focused on regen product lines. Save the dates, as we will be presenting a different topic on or about the first Tuesday of the month at 11 a.m. Look for your invitations to register in your mailbox. Next month's webinar will be on January 8th and will be a look at our quoting system and will highlight all of its capabilities. For today's webinar, we will be taking a look back on 2018's performance as well as share our goals for 2019 for the regenerative blower product line. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. Today's copy with AMETEK webinar will be recorded and made available to you sometime later today, along with a copy of the PowerPoint slides. We will also be sending out a survey after the webinar and would appreciate your candid feedback so that we can continue to improve this forum. We would like to request all questions be held until the end of the presentation. When you would like to ask a question, please click on the hand icon in the GoToWebinar toolbar, and we will unmute your microphone. Now, without any further delay, I'd like to introduce our panelists, Steve Griffiths, Technical Sales Manager, and Doug Pliska, Technical Sales Engineer.
Next slide. You go to the next slide, yeah. Good morning, everyone. This is Steve Griffiths. Hope you're all doing well. Sitting next to me, like Steve Ibsen said, is Doug Pliska. I wanted to discuss some of the highlights and some of the medium lights, low lights from the past year with the team. It's been hard to believe the year's almost behind us now. It's early December, and we'll be kicking off a new year, 2019, soon with new goals, new sales objectives. I wanted to go over the past year. This past year was my first full year taking over the sales management role for Jay Jarbo. Jay was an outstanding historical manager for the line. As you know, Jay retired middle of last year. For a brief time, Keith Hollenbeck took up the role of regen sales manager, and when he retired in December of last year, I officially received the title to be the sales manager for the line. To say the least, it's been a very, very trying year for me personally with respect to the business, since I've had other markets to deal with as well. But that being said, there have been some good things going on as well, and I appreciate first and foremost all the efforts made by the sales representative team, by the applications engineering team of AMETEK who may be listening, and to the design engineering team, the design engineering team that also may be listening today. Thank you all very, very much for your efforts and your activities. Again, they're greatly appreciated, and that comes from me personally and Doug and from senior management at AMETEK. If I was to go over some of the recap items from 2018, I'm not going to mince words. It's been in many cases, we've had some difficult times in the past year, primarily due to some issues internally with our organization and getting up to speed still, I believe, with the way we do business, since we have relocated this product line from our old Saugus location into Rock Creek, North Carolina. First thing I want to talk about, one of the difficulties we've had during the year is, you know, we've actually had a cost impact to our business as a result of the tariffs that were imposed upon imported goods from China. Those tariffs took effect July 6th of the past year. Many of our components fell under the harmonized codes that received the tariffs that had an immediate impact to our business as far as cost. And as you know, we had to pass those price increases or that cost increase along to the customers as a result of the impact to our business. This was not something that was well received, as everyone knows, but it was something the business insisted upon, and it was necessary because of the, again, the impact to the bottom line. In fact, the regen line itself was not, shall I say, singled out. Every one of the products manufactured within AMETEK DFS, and I would say AMETEK Corporation as a whole, were required to evaluate the cost impact as a result of the Chinese tariffs and reprice product accordingly. But still, that being said, that definitely had some difficulties in the field with your customers. I realize that there are some key customers, some key OEM customers that I'm sure did not like having to listen to us ask for another price increase after we gave them a price increase late last year, standard 4% price increase. I understand that was difficult for the reps to deal with. Some specific reps would be noted, but I think you know who you are. You have some key OEM accounts that were not happy with that. We appreciate you managing that to the best of your ability. We understand that our pricing isn't the lowest to begin with, but we attempt to overcome that by doing other things to benefit our customers and to distinguish ourselves. So first of all, I just want to say thanks for those who've had to manage that on the front lines. It was not an easy thing to do, but we certainly do appreciate it. The last thing I heard with respect to upcoming additional tariffs, I just heard the rumors 2 days ago that our president and the leader of China are negotiating delaying the next round of tariffs that were going to take effect. Wherever that leads, I don't know, but we should be hearing more the next couple of weeks after the G20 conference is complete and we hear back to the press on the status of all the negotiations that occurred there. Internally, AMETEK was hit pretty hard by our key suppliers. One of our key suppliers, obviously, in the regen line is our motor supplier. I can't give you specific numbers, but I can tell you we were impacted significantly by one of our key suppliers as a result of the tariff impact. So hopefully in the future, these tariffs can be rescinded and we can give you some better information on pricing going forward. But again, I appreciate those who had to deal with that specifically. Tough thing to deal with. Another recapping again, 2018, one of the issues I think that we would all agree, at least most of those who were on the call agree, that the RMAs that we have with the business appear to be increasing and have increased over the past year. Now, I'm trying to gauge that to the best of my abilities because, again, I haven't been on the line, but for the last year with the real emphasis as the sales manager. But it just seems that we've had a lot more returns first of all, that I would like to see, but probably compared to past history as well. I tried to reach out to other people that have been in the industry, have been in this business for a while. They would tend to agree that we're seeing more RMAs than we would like to see. And so we understand, too, that would create some frustrations with the customer base who historically depend upon our product integrity and not necessarily our quote-unquote low price, which we typically do not supply. So that's another issue I wanted to make sure that you were aware that we noted and it's understood, and there'll be other discussions coming up in this presentation later. Lead times and delivery were also a concern the past year. I know, excuse me, I've received various emails from many of the sales reps that we've had customers requiring deliveries that historically maybe we've been a little better on, but we couldn't seem to get there this year. I understand that as well, and that's another area that we're in my personal opinion, we're going to have to improve going forward. We're going to have to find a way as AMETEK to improve that performance level on deliveries, not just specials, but some of our more standard products to make sure that we're satisfying the needs of the customer towards growing the business accordingly. So, and lastly, I want to mention as part of the recap, one of the key things, again, besides the tariffs that impacted us cost-wise, as you might know, Baldor was purchased by ABB. We've noticed we've been working hard with ABB/Baldor, but we've had difficulties over the past with respect to deliveries as well. They haven't been as crisp and as clear. That has definitely impacted some of our lead times that have occurred with the finished product, and we will continue to look at ways of improving that going forward. For the year, I do want to say that our sales were up from the previous year by roughly 6.6% based on the calculations and the data I have. Interestingly enough, that 6.6% increase can be almost directly attributable to the price increases that we requested and, well, both sets of price increases we requested. So obviously, the business didn't appear to grow so much organically or on unit volume, but it did, in fact, meet its or increase overall revenue from the previous year. Now, again, me coming on news, the 2016, 2015 sales levels were a bit higher than what we saw in 2017. Our expectation for 2018 was to see a significant increase over 2017. So we had a pretty hefty goal in place. So even with an increase of 6.6% in sales, we still missed our budgetary number by 7%. So that's where we are. Overall, again, I mean, we certainly appreciate getting the 6.6% increase, but we still have more work to do to help us meet our actual goals and objectives for the business. I want to talk about goals for 2019, segueing in from the discussion I just had about 2018 sales and sales activity. The business unit, again, has established for the Regen business a 10% increase in sales over our 2018 numbers. That being said, AMETEK has more work to do to assist the reps in getting more information to help us grow those sales. To that end, we're working on ways, and I don't have final plans in place at this time, but we're working on ways to hopefully assure that better and more qualified leads are given to the rep force to help you folks drive the business, I guess, more effectively. So that's something we're looking at here. But again, overall for the business, management has requested, again, for our budget to increase our revenue over last year by 10%. And hopefully that'll get us back to some of the previous year's numbers that we've seen, prior to like the 2015, 2014 timeframe. In any case, the number is what it is. I put together the budget, got pushed back, and that's where we are right now. So just wanted everyone to understand there is a growth initiative in place to grow by 10% over the 2018 final numbers. Additional goals for 2019 that involve more than just sales numbers, profit numbers, dollars. Let me just say, we would acknowledge here at AMETEK that our communication needs to improve with the rep team. It does. It's been a crazy year for us internally. Again, me managing 3 product lines and not just one like Jay had in the past. It made for some difficult times on the communication side, but we have to get better. We have to improve. We have to make sure we're communicating to the rep team in a timely manner. I'm not going to mince words there either. I mean, it does. Internally, AMETEK has to improve in that regard. We will be undertaking initiatives. Again, I won't be specific in this particular call, but there are discussions underway currently to help us improve in that area. We want to make sure that we improve communications to the reps, not only with the sales management team here at Kent, but with the factory and the customer service teams as well. So let me just say that there are initiatives being looked at to help us improve there. Another goal for 2019 is internal to AMETEK. Again, not necessarily run a Kaizen, but we're going to look at performing some events to monitor how the business is operating and look at other ways of improving how we do business at Rock Creek and solve other key problem areas that we have had. Again, specifics are being communicated internally here at this time. We're putting together plans to do that. But I do want to acknowledge that there is stuff going to be undertaken internally with the business unit to try to make improvements on how we manage the business and how we help Rock Creek as well with the deliveries and RMAs. One of the things my management, me personally, have pushed and will be part of goals and objectives For individual sales members here in the organization, will be more visits, especially to key OEM customers by AMETEK direct employees with the reps where necessary, and where not, we'll take care of that as well. But we want to make sure we capture in a real bona fide voice of the customer. How would I say? Not a database per se, but just really capture the voice of the customer as to our performance with them directly. I know, as mentioned previously, the reps have had to take it on the chin sometimes, some difficult conversations that have had to occur as a result of delivery or pricing issues. And this past year has been, again, it's been a very, very busy year internally here in Kent and elsewhere within AMETEK, but we are going to make it mandatory and specific to goals and objectives for individuals to get out into the field with the rep team and meet specific customers. In doing so, we hope to emulate maybe a method that Jay Jarbo and his previous sales group had in place that was probably effective, and I think you would agree with that, the effectivity of that. We have to get back to doing that. As we have now settled into the past year and getting up to speed with the way we've done business here internally, learning this business without Jay's input, we have come to the conclusion that we obviously need to be able to support that, and that's one of the additional goals for 2019. And I can say, last on my list here for goals for 2019, AMETEK as a whole, we're going to do a deeper dive on how we look at the regen business, okay? And we are going to put together plans that we think, well, we know will help improve our, shall we say, our metrics moving forward. I'm not talking about just the sales numbers. I'm talking about everything that helps us function effectively as an organization to meet those sales numbers. I won't beat the horse too much here, but again, we have improvements to make internally at AMETEK. That's a given. I understand that. I fielded a lot of complaints in the last year, and I want everyone to know that there's discussions going on internally as to what plans we can put together to help improve the business as a whole for the regen side. Next page. The business climate page, again, with the product line management team in place that we have, as you know, I put out an email, I think it was last January or February, but I put out a global email to the sales team that we have taken on a product line manager in the forms of Steve Ibsen, currently, who is the product line manager. Product line management is going to help us better define adjacent markets, different markets, new markets that the current regen team may not have looked at in the past, and help facilitate communications towards the rep team to meet those, or to entertain discussing those account activities and meeting new customers. So I just want to let you know that's also something we're doing, okay? Competitive overview. I think you all know that we still have, besides our standard competition that's out there in the field, the gas of the world, etc. We're continuing to see the lower cost Chinese, Asian manufactured products that come in. And in many applications, they would be considered, I guess they would be considered good enough. And obviously that's going to have an impact on costs, or not a cost, but on our ability to sell against that. One thing in our favor for those competitors that do manufacture 100% in China, they've obviously been impacted by the tariffs as well, as much as we understand. So that could give us some leverage there for the time being. But still, the fact that these low-cost manufacturing locations globally tend to do a good job of copying and reselling product that we've had our business share over the years doesn't make it any easier on us. So historically, how did Rotron itself distinguish itself in the regenerative blower industry? As you know, I mean, our core strengths were that we were either quick and good, reliable, obviously, but also we were good at doing specials, the special coatings, the CPs for environmental protection. So those were ways we distinguished ourselves in the past. That's probably the way I see us distinguishing ourselves going forward. Doesn't mean there won't be other avenues looked at to help grow the business, but right now that's how I see the competitive situation. And coming up here in a few minutes, we're going to let you folks, have a time of discussion with us to share what you think you're seeing as well, so that we're better equipped internally here to plan now how to remanage the business going forward. With respect to safety stock, Doug, I'm going to let you talk about the safety stock issue. You've been closer to it the last 18 months than I have, so feel free to comment about what you think you've seen and what you think we should do going forward, or what planning we might have.
Good morning. This is Doug Pliska. As Steve was saying, safety stock, we're looking at that, and it's critical to the business because if a customer has a breakdown, obviously we would like to have something on our shelves to replace it. What we want to do is take a look at the history, see what we need to put in what we call the safety stock, so we have it on the shelf. But more importantly, we need your feedback. Do you have an OEM that uses X amount of this type of blower per month? Communicate that back to us. If we have that information, we will address it, and we will build and put it on the shelf for you. So think about that. Your customers, what they're using, if you see repeated trends, let us know, and we will put that on the safety stock. Steve stepped out, but I just want to reiterate a little bit of what Steve was saying. I'm pretty excited about 2019 because there's going to be some things that are happening here in Kent to ultimately make your job easier. I'm talking about improving the RMA turnarounds, lead times, quality, just things that upper management has been looking at, and we're going to be getting involved in making it better. Another thing too is what's very important to us is, and it hasn't been done, is the voice of the customer. Steve mentioned that myself and probably maybe some others will be making visits to some of your key OEM accounts. And by hearing their pain, I'll be able to reiterate it back to the plant and upper management to ultimately take care of the customer. That's something that I look forward to, improving the whole process. Another thing too, when ABB acquired Beldor, I have noticed that if we do not have a motor in stock and we order it from Beldor, we're looking at about a 6 to 8 week lead time. So please keep that in mind. If you're quoting a customer a motor only and we don't have it on or have it in stock in Rock Creek, you're looking at a good 6 to 8 weeks. Hopefully this is just a little growing pain with the acquisition of ABB to Beldor, but hopefully that'll improve. But just be aware of that. 6 to 8 weeks. Steve, do you want to take it?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Doug. I had to step up for a second. I apologize. It was an emergency call. Okay, very good. Well, guys, those are the key discussion points I wanted to emphasize in this first half hour of this meeting today. But what we really wanted to do after the communications that we just put forward was really leave this open. I mean, for you folks to ask any questions or provide any feedback or comments. And we can start with feedback first for the year. And if you have any questions, we can get into that as well. But I really want to make sure that the sales team, the reps, know that we regard you highly. You're a key part of our business, and we want to make sure we're listening, understand your concerns, and listen to what you got to say. So at this particular point, I'm basically done with the main presentation and would like to open it up to.
See, we have a question from Burgundy. She asked, can we add the motor? Can we add the motor stock to the safety stock? And then also that we added some accessories previously. So if you guys can.
Yes, absolutely. All we ask of you is if you're seeing a trend in a particular motor, let us know. With the case right now it being 8 weeks, we would want to order that as soon as possible. I know that motors are kind of hard to gauge because they go down at certain times, but motors are not cheap. It's probably the most expensive part of the whole blower, and AMETEK looks at that as being part of stock. So we have to be a little careful there. But if there's a particular motor that you're looking at, we'd be more than glad to put it on the shelf to help your customer.
All right, thank you, Doug. Dot, I'm going to unmute your phone now, so you should be able to speak now.
Okay. I know that at some point when the safety stock was established, maybe in the spring or the summer, you guys got really good at being able to ship things quickly. It was wonderful. And that data must have come from somewhere, what blowers you were going to stock. So I hope that's going to be a starting point, but I have noticed that those blowers that were set at a significant safety stock, you're not even close to rebuilding a small safety stock there. Is that something you're going to use to help you get at least an initial safety stock built back up?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, these are the key items we want to make sure we're hearing properly from the rep team. I think my previous bullet I had in the presentation said we will evaluate safety stock by looking at historical selling volumes or lack thereof and refine tune where we think we need to be to make that part of this business functional. You know, we certainly understand. Yeah, that has to be something we do. And again, that's part of the deeper dive on the business. And quite frankly, that's going to be a collective discussion between not only sales, but product line management and manufacturing, with the key data evaluation coming from direct sales historically and the inputs that come directly from the rep force as to what you think needs to be out there. So yes, and so Dot, I would say always, if you feel free to be specific in an email to myself, Doug, or Steve Ibsen, or all of us, and say, you know, guys, specifically, here are some models I've seen I'm concerned about. You comment about that, and we'll take all that data and put that together towards formulating a better plan going forward.
Okay, so we'll use that safety stock report and highlight the ones that were alarmed about not having a level. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, this is Steve Ibsen. I was just looking at the safety stock report just before this meeting, in fact, and I was somewhat alarmed too at the number of units that we were supposed to have stock of, and we had 0 units on the shelf. So the only thing that comes to mind right now is I know Rock Creek just went through an inventory process, and they may have been trying to reduce the number of units on the shelf just to reduce their capital outlay that show on the books.
I get that. I did factor that in, and I've been waiting for that to be rebuilt.
But I agree with you. It does need to be rebuilt. I think I kind of looked at it. I think we've got over 300 units that need to be put back on the shelf.
Okay. Cool.
Dr. Again, we can't emphasize enough. I know you have specific OEMs. You know what they're using, and you have a great idea of what the weekly, the monthly usage is. Let us know. We will put it on the shelf for you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dot. If anyone else has questions, you can either type them in the question section or raise your hand.
Thank
All right, Dan.
Yeah, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. We used to get, years ago, we used to get a lot of inquiries. That I believe, I'm trying to think back, I think we could go onto the internet.
The old website.
It was in the old
Yeah.
program, but we hardly get, I mean, we hardly get any inquiries anymore. And I have to think people out there looking at the website. And we used to get notice of anybody that came on and looked at the website or entered a name or anything. And then we could send them an email and at least make some initial contact with them. But we've kind of lost that.
Okay. I will tell you, and I know you guys have heard this a lot, we are changing things for 2019. We'll be using more marketing automation for this specific process to get leads to you guys. So you will be getting more leads in 2019. I will tell you, with the change we had in our website, we've kind of gone through some painful changes with our marketing and figuring out what's working and what's not working. So there's been a lot of big changes here at AMETEK, and I know that's very vague, I apologize, but we've gone through some marketing automation, no marketing automation, to having a little bit back and doing back and forth. So we felt that pain throughout the entire sales team, and I apologize for that. I know it puts a damper on what you guys are doing, but in 2019, we're going to be looking at, how do we get you those leads? How do we understand what is a good lead for you guys? I promise you'll get more. I apologize for the amount of leads you guys probably received.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, and Sharon says, are we working towards main EN blowers being rated for VFD drive stock items instead of being a custom order with longer lead time?
Is that two questions? Okay, no.
No.
Are we working towards, blowers being rated for VFD drive stock? That is going to be a decision of, I think, the data that comes down from history, and it'd be a discussion between, that's going to be a product line initiative as to what we're going to do with the VFD business as a whole and what we're going to stock. So should that be in consideration? Absolutely. Absolutely. And that will be part of the discussion with respect to moving forward. But I guess based on the question itself, I appreciate that, by the way. I appreciate that question, because VFDs are something that we have to really get our hands around more. We understand that that there's other dynamics in selling a VFD type design, and any input the sales team can give us, the rep team, the sales team can give us with respect to specific items you'd like to see in that product family would be great to have. I think that's a great question, and that has to be something that has to be vetted by the product line manager. Neil Lynch has also asked us to get involved technically for the last year on coming up with designs, VFD compliant designs, expanded designs, and there's discussions on that as well, and that has to be addressed. We understand that.
Okay. Sharon says, great, long lead times are not doing well for us, pretty much.
Okay. Yeah, Sharon is dead nuts on that. Again, I would say historically our business model has been, and feel free to correct me, AMETEK was either fast and reliable, or we could build a special unit and be reliable. If we have more standard units available from our competition, we're not going to usually win that on price, so we better be darn quick. I understand your pain there, and we have to address that.
All right, Sharon, if you have anything else, feel free to write it in. Dan has a question here that says, any thoughts or discussions of product line expansion, new products, or acquisitions to aid in growth?
That's both a Steve Griffiths historical answer coming and maybe a Steve Ibsen product line management long-term thing. I'll talk on the front end, and I'll let you talk about other things. But I will tell you this. In the last 4 or 5 years, Dan, we attempted to look at some product line expansion. We looked at doing some turbo blowers, very large stuff. When we were still in Saugerties and had the team there. I did a case study when I was in marketing as well to expand that. At the time, it seemed like that particular market was served. Now, that tends to lead to the next question. Would there be any, how would I say it? Can we possibly be looking at other companies with similar yet adjacent products that we could maybe purchase and expand the line that way? And that again, that's more of a product line long-term initiative, and maybe Steve Ibsen would like to comment about that.
Sure. As you all know, I'm fairly new to AMETEK in this particular product line, so I've had my ears open, but I've not really heard much about new product lines in this particular industry. So if you happen to come across anything, we would be more than willing to consider it, add it to the product line, and so forth. We've not done much new product development in this regenerative blower product line, from what I can see, over the last 10 years. So it definitely needs to be done. We need to keep current with what's going on out there. So if you see some things or new innovative ways of doing things, we would be open to adding that in and working it in as a new product. So we're all ears.
Thank you for all the questions and comments so far. Are there any other questions and comments at this time?
Guys, I'm here. I'm here all day. So please feel free to throw anything at me. It's been a tough year, but so please, if you have any other questions, let us know.
All right, I would say you can wrap up about now. Looks like our questions are there.
Okay. Well, thanks, everyone. We appreciate you guys being here. If you have any topics that you'd like to see us cover in future Coffee with AMETEK webinars, please let us know. We've also provided, as the last slide, a list of all the AMETEK employees and their contact information if you should ever need to talk to someone about Rotron regenerative blowers. Please keep in mind that the most efficient course of action will be through your customer service or sales professionals. Until next month, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.